General Nicholson, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your service, and congratulations on this nomination. Thank you as well to your family who's here with you today. In two regards. One, while in my experience, veterans of combat are the last people who want to go off into combat again, they're also the first to do their duty. And family members often have to stay behind at home and wonder if they're safe at home. So thank you for many years of doing that as a representative of all the family members in our armed forces. And second, multi-generation, multi-member family of our armed services, which is a reminder that a very small percentage of Americans currently shoulder the load of our armed forces. And when you look at the number of multiple family members who do so, it's even smaller, often from places like Arkansas or Arizona or Iowa. So we appreciate your family's decorated service. So you're going to be replacing General John Campbell, who was a former commanding general of the 101st Airborne. Looking through your bio here and looking at your right pocket there, I see lots of service at the 82nd Airborne, but I see no service at the 101st. Is that correct?
I did wear the 101st on my right and left shoulders when I was in RC South in Afghanistan, but I've not served at Fort Campbell, Senator. Thank you.
Well, I hope you can overcome this deficiency in your background. I trust that our committee members will see fit to confirm an All-American, particularly if you can get some Screaming Eagles on your team in Afghanistan. But in seriousness, I want to associate myself with the comments and the questions of Senator McCain, Senator Ayotte, and Senator Ernst. I also want to raise another Screaming Eagle, General David Petraeus. I would assume that you've worked with him on occasion, perhaps even in Afghanistan. Do you view David Petraeus as a source of trusted counsel and insight into current operations in Afghanistan?
Yes, I do, Senator. I work for General Petraeus in Afghanistan as his Deputy Commanding General for Operations.
Are you aware of an article he wrote with Michael O'Hanlon in the Washington Post 2 weeks ago called "It's Time to Unleash America's Air Power in Afghanistan"?
Yes, sir, I've seen that.
Okay, I'd just like to quote here from what General Petraeus wrote. At present, U.S. and NATO air power in Afghanistan is used only to, 1, attack validated al-Qaeda targets, 2, to counter specific individuals or groups who have attacked coalition forces previously, and 3, to respond directly to attacks on coalition forces. According to leaders on the ground, U.S. and NATO forces are otherwise not allowed to attack Taliban targets. General Petraeus goes on to cite that there are only 400 sorties last year, which is a fall of almost 2/3 since 2014, and a fall of more than 2,000 sorties since 2010. Do you agree with his advice that it is time to unleash American air power in Afghanistan? And if so, what would that look like?
Thanks for that question, Senator. And of course, President Ghani has asked for help in bridging the CAS gap. As you know, Senator, we have a long-range plan, but the challenge is right now we have a shortfall in Afghan air power. They are our principal force combating the Taliban. We focus on force protection and CT. So hence the gap. I wanted to just take a second to explain why we have a gap. And then eventually, as the Afghan Air Force and Army Aviation is trained, they'll be able to fill that gap. So in the interim, then, the question is what to do. And I know I've not had the opportunity to talk to General Campbell about this specific issue, but I know he has thoughts on this, and he has made some recommendations. There is a conversation going on inside Department of Defense right now about some of his thoughts on this and other subjects in 2015, looking ahead to 2016. At this point, I'm not confirmed. I don't want to insert myself in his dialogue with his chain of command, but I look forward to doing my own assessment when I get on the ground, because filling this gap is important in order to enable these brave Afghan soldiers to take the fight to the Taliban. So I agree that we need to address this gap as President Ghani's requested and as General Petraeus has highlighted.
Thank you. Well, given how decisive an advantage American air power provides us, as well as President Ghani's comments, I hope you'll take a close look at that. A related topic that David Petraeus also wrote about in that op-ed said that some administration lawyers harbor concerns that the authorization for the use of military force approved soon after 9/11 does not extend to justify the continued use of force against the Taliban. Would you agree with that viewpoint?
Sir, I believe the point they're expressing is we are no longer engaged in direct action against the Taliban, and that was also partly a policy decision. Although the rules of not getting into a rules of engagement discussion in an open forum, sir, but we believe we have adequate engagement authority to engage anyone who threatens U.S. forces. I think there's a policy question of who engages the Taliban, and do we get, back to your earlier question, do we use U.S. air power or coalition air power against the Taliban, or do we let the Afghans handle it? I think this is the issue. So in a way, sir, I believe this is related to your first point about addressing this threat posed by the Taliban, given the intensity with which the Taliban came at the ANDSF this year.
Thank you. My time has expired.